It's back to the drawing board for state lawmakers. Good evening. This is CTV News. I am Taylor Thomas. A controversial Maryland redistricting map has been overturned. A state judge says Maryland's new congressional map was a case of, quote, extreme partisan gerrymander. Judge Lynn Battaglia told and ordered the state's legislature to redraw the map by March 30th. The ruling is a victory for Maryland Republicans.
I think the court's decision certainly is encouraging lines that are based on county geography. And so that was the main provision of the Constitution that they found to be most troubling. It's Article 3, Section 4. I think, interestingly, from a legal standpoint, that provision has not, to my knowledge, before been held to apply to congressional maps in the state of Maryland. But Judge Battaglia has now applied that geographic requirement to congressional maps as well as General Assembly maps.
Does this feel like a win for the Republican Party?
Yes. I'm sure if you had my counterpart from the Democrat parties, they would not be as happy as me.
Battaglia says the map violated the state's constitution's equal protection clause. No word yet on whether Democrats plan to appeal the court's decision. A Maryland gubernatorial hopeful has his eyes set on the Washington Commanders. Rashawn Baker says if elected, he aims to keep a new Commander Stadium here in Prince George's. This comes after County Executive Angela Alsobrook announced her plans to build a sports and entertainment development with or without a new stadium. Baker was joined by council members today as he outlined his plans. He says a new arena development will pay for itself.
We're building around here, and by using the downtown business improvement district that Councilmember Franklin is proposing and that I would support as governor, we can actually use state and local dollars and federal dollars to build upon the Blue Line Metro and make this an area where it's beneficial. More hotels, more restaurants. That's why they should stay here, and that's why I think they're going to.
Baker says a new stadium will increase local property values. Here are the latest COVID-19 numbers for our area. Of the 391 new cases statewide, 38 are in Prince George's. The county's positivity rate is at 1.19%. 2 people have died of COVID since yesterday. 177 people remain hospitalized. We now know the name of the man who died after his car hit a tree in Capitol Heights earlier this week. The victim was 52-year-old Boyce Abney. Abney was driving southbound on Quarry Avenue near Isabel Drive late Wednesday morning. Officials say he crashed after losing control of his vehicle. He died later at a hospital. Anyone with information on this crash is asked to contact police. A longtime fixture at the Prince George's Chamber of Commerce is stepping down. David Harrington has been the president of the organization for 10 years. The chamber is 600 members strong and is rated one of the top business associations in the D.C. region. But Harrington says it was not always that way. The organization was in dire straits when he was recruited to be president and CEO.
And I have to tell you, Byron, I was reluctant. I was hesitant because I just didn't think it fit with my own sort of values and where I wanted to go. But I love this county, and I didn't want to have a Chamber of Commerce close its doors in Prince George's County, which would be yet another sort of negative narrative around the county. So I said, well, let me take this on. Let me see what I can do. And to my surprise, 10 years later, still being here, we're here. We're here where we are now, and certainly appreciated the ride.
Harrington heads to a new position with Kaiser Permanente as Regional Senior Director. He leaves the chamber on April the 15th. You're watching CTV News. I'm Taylor Thomas. Coming up, a local man beats the odds to start a tech company. The story after the break.
What if you could feel in control of your retirement in just a few clicks? At aceyourretirement.org, you can. Start with a free 3-minute chat with Avo, your friendly digital retirement coach. Just answer some simple questions like, how do you feel about your ability to save for retirement? Or in how many years do you want to retire? To get free action items customized just for you, get your retirement back on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Welcome back. With the end of the legislative session in Annapolis less than 3 weeks away, Governor Larry Hogan is turning up the heat on bills he wants to see become law. At a press conference yesterday, the governor chided lawmakers for not passing the Violent Firearms Offender Act. That legislation would stiffen sentences on individuals who use a gun to commit a crime. He also made the case for the Retirement Tax Reduction Act, which would eliminate or reduce income taxes for retirees.
There's only two things I really care about for the next 18 days. One is passing the crime bill, and two is passing the retirement tax cut.
The legislative session ends April the 11th. Proposed legislation before the Maryland General Assembly would make it easier for low-income workers to access the Earned Income Tax Credit. The bill, which is cross-filed in both chambers, would provide residents with a streamlined method to claim the credit.
About 25% of everyone who's eligible for the EITC on any given year does not actually apply for it. They don't know that they're eligible for it. Maybe they filed a tax return and didn't claim it, or they just didn't have to file a tax return, so they haven't. So what these bills do is it creates a process for people who have filed their federal return, but did not claim the state earned income tax credit. It gives the comptroller a way to reach out to them to say, oh, hey, we think you could be eligible for the earned income tax credit. Let's make sure that you get it. We just need a little bit more information from you, and help them to, again, in a much easier way, access those credits.
A hearing on Bill HB 252 is scheduled for March 29th in the House chamber. A serial robber targets 2 beauty supply stores and a gas station. Police have released surveillance video of the suspect. The suspect, who was armed, robbed 3 businesses recently. Anyone who may have information on the robberies is asked to contact police. A Prince George's man incarcerated as a teen has beat the odds to launch a tech company. CTV's News' Katara Jones has the story.
Staying in touch with someone in prison can be very difficult. That's where the app called Flickshop steps in and makes connecting with incarcerated loved ones easier.
It's very challenging to communicate with your loved one who is incarcerated.
Lack of internet access is one of the barriers inmates face when trying to reach out to family. To address this need, Prince George's native Marcus Bullock created the app called Flickshop. The app allows its users to send a postcard to friends and family members in prison.
You're able to upload a photo, type a quick message, press send, and we print that photo and message on a real tangible postcard that we ship anywhere to any person, any prison or jail anywhere in the country.
Bullock knows all too well the toll being in prison can take on a person's mental health. At age 15, he was arrested for a carjacking and spent 8 years in prison. He says while incarcerated, he got very depressed, but correspondence with his mother helped him get through the dark days.
She made a commitment to me to write me a letter or send me a photo every day from that day forward. And that commitment allowed for me to be able to see the world through her lens, which opened up a realm of possibilities that I wasn't even smart enough to pray for while I was still in prison.
Here in Maryland, Flickshop postcards can be sent to more than 40 jails, detention centers, and correctional facilities across the state.
We wanted to be able to make sure that we created a tool that didn't matter where you were, you could still receive a postcard in the mail, and our loved ones would stay in contact, hoping that it would prevent people from straying their relationships away and eventually coming home and never going back inside of those cells.
Bullock created the app back in 2012. Users can download the app through the Apple Store and Google Play. Katara Jones, CTV News.
For more details on the app, visit the website on your screen. And we'll be back with more news in just a moment. Stay here.
1 in 365 African Americans battle sickle cell disease. I was one of them. Life back then was painful. I was in and out of the hospital and had frequent pain crises. A blood stem cell transplant is the only cure for sickle cell disease. I was fortunate to find a perfect match in my younger sister, but many patients do not have a compatible donor in their families, and Black patients have only a 23% chance of finding an unrelated donor. More Black donors are urgently needed to help save lives. It only takes a simple cheek swab to join the Be the Match registry.
Learn more about becoming a donor and access free patient resources by visiting endsicklecell.org today. You or someone you know could be the cure for a patient battling sickle cell, like me.
Maryland State Police arrest a Montgomery County man on child pornography charges. Garrett Schaefer was arrested at his Silver Spring home yesterday morning. Authorities linked Schaefer to online porn distribution following an investigation that began last August. Facing 8 counts of porn distribution, Schaefer is being held without bail. County Executive Angela Alsobrooks is giving a voice to those often overlooked by observing March 21st through the 25th, that is, as Women Veterans Week. Closing out the week, we highlight Renee Allen. Allen served in the Navy and U.S. Naval Reserves and was deployed overseas during Operation Desert Storm. She also worked at the Naval Hospital in Bethesda. Sadly, Allen says harassment was one of the obstacles she faced in the military.
When you go to your chief or senior chief, it was ignored, So you really had to have tough skin and just keep yourself, like a lady and keep your head up high, which I did. My mother and father taught me that. But it was very challenging because a lot of times I was around the men because I was at Bethesda, Roosevelt Rose, Puerto Rico, where we had the submarines. We had all the ships coming into the base. I was a part of the USO, so it was mostly men, so you had to really walk a certain way.
Prince George's County has more than 10,000 women veterans. College Park Mayor Patrick Woyan takes a new national leadership role. He was recently appointed Vice Chair of the National League of Cities Race, Equity, and Leadership Program, also known as the REAL program. Woyan also selected to be a part of the Mayoral Fellowship program.
I was selected amongst mayors from around the country to participate in that program with 7 other mayors. And they are looking at issues of community design and planning and how they impact racial equity. In terms of Lakeland, in terms of smaller communities like ours, is really looking at the way that we plan around Lakeland, plan development, plan infrastructure, design infrastructure, and how that impacts racial equity, how we can do that in a way that ensures that the people who live in Lakeland, that the Lakeland community, that it has equitable opportunities, that it has equal access to the community around it.
Woyan's one-year term as vice chair of the National REAL program will allow him to collaborate on developing programs that can be reproduced around the country. The popular White House Easter egg hunt is back on this year. The White House will host the Easter egg roll on the South Lawn on April the 18th. The annual event has been canceled for the past 2 years because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Meantime, the White House will resume its spring garden tours early next month. Also, public tours of the White House will resume on April the 15th. Let's check your weather forecast tonight. Cloudy with lows around 44. Tomorrow, scattered showers with highs around in the mid-50s. Sunday, mostly sunny with highs in the upper 40s. Monday, mostly sunny skies with highs near 43. And that's your CTV News Update. I'm Taylor Thomas. Good night.
Now